Welcome back to West Oz. We're here for the Drug Aware Margaret River Pro, and we're about to get the 5th round of the men's event underway with a big clash between Jack Freestone and Connor Coffin. Ronnie Blakey joined by Peter Mell. And Pete, this is a fantastic matchup between two of the new additions to the tour ranks.
Couple Groms going at it out here at main break. You know, there was that decision of where should we go. You know, a lot of chatter still from that north wind over there at the box. Not a lot of waves made. Couple moments, but not enough to get us underway. Main break still holding true over here. Still some bigger sets. So the Groms are at it.
Jack Freestone putting together a couple of good heats yesterday, but not enough to see him get the jump on Owen Wright in the 4th round. But he had a healthy heat score total. Connor Coffin did put together his best heat in round 4, but has given us some real flashes of brilliance with those powerful committed rail turns early on in the event. During the break, we saw Jack Freestone get started in a big way.
Sure did, and that beautiful forehand hack, which he has put together 2 in a row. And then the closeout move, he completes and even finds another section. So what a start, applying some serious pressure to Connor Coffin right out of the gates.
So back to live action here now, 26.5 minutes remaining.
Jack seems to be starting to fulfill his potential. I mean, yeah, last year he had that injury, which really, you know, put him off rhythm when he first got back on, or first got onto the championship tour. Had the final, but then just lost his way back half of the year.
Big start here. Sorry, Pete. 8.5 on that first ride.
Well, that's exactly what he needs to do. When you can get a wave off the hooter and put an excellent number up, that'll definitely going to put your competitor on the back foot.
It certainly will. So Freestone, unlike Connor in his rookie season, Connor just really picked up the ball and ran with it from the very first event. Had a bit of a sleepy period midway through the year, Pete, and came home strong with that 2nd place finish over there in Portugal.
Well, you know, you wonder what happens there when you kind of have that good start and all of a sudden you're like, oh, yeah, things are cool. And all of a sudden there's 1 loss and you're like, oh, it's just 1 loss, and then 2 and then 3. And you're like, shoot, what happened? You know, and then you got to kind of get antsy again. I like what Jack's done here, though. You seem we've seen he's been able to produce big scores and not better put himself behind. I think when his losses have come, you see that he gets behind and he's not able to chase him down. So he's made a decision to go and put big scores up early, and it's been working for him.
Now looking for a backup number. Freestone drives around the bottom of this ride and just whips it off the top. Climbing vertically now. And a couple of good taps to the lip there. Just looking for a backup score here. No real fireworks on this ride just yet, but waves start to finish.
Well, there he has it, you know, that freedom of getting that first excellent score. You're able to kind of take a wave that you wouldn't probably normally look at as a backup. And that came out pretty good. I think that's going to be an okay backup for him. You know, the Swell's energy is depleting. So board choice being critical, going to that short board, finding something that's going to stay alive under your feet, give you that flow.
Also that quick start in a declining Swell.
Very helpful, you know, especially you never know when it's going to go flat for 5, 10, 15 minutes.
8.5 on his first wave, expecting a reasonable number for the second. Out the back, meanwhile, on the button, Connor Coffin. He'll have his first shot at a big score. He's going to drive up into this first section and really goes all out, but didn't quite set the rail before ripping in.
Ouch, that hurt. He'll be back out. Maybe you can see him back out at the peak to receive priority back and shake that one off quickly as the race continues. Machine against man, or man against machine, or the same thing.
It's interesting, this scenario here.
Because yeah.
The priority judge, obviously a long way from that takeoff zone. It looks like Connor's almost in position here. They'll be looking through binoculars. He's looking to the beach, and there it is. Priority given to Connor Coffin.
It was important for him right here too. I mean, that's that call that has to happen by the priority judge. But you know, the rule states first to take off is truly the one who's going to receive it, and that's what Connor did. But sometimes you'll see that, you know, it's not always necessarily the case, because you'll have a surfer that's just ridden the last wave try to get back to that spot to rebate it. But if you're right there in position, like Jack would have been, it was close, but they definitely gave it to Connor there.
Let's get an update on what the conditions are doing out there from the man in the channel, Strider Wasilewski. How's it feel?
Well, we definitely got a whole nother set of rules for the boys today. You know, this is the first time they've gotten the chance to actually feel it out. And we saw that wave of Connor. So he came off the bottom and the wind blowing up the face away from him. So kind of threw him off, wasn't able to set the rail and went down. And Jack Freestone's first wave, we saw almost the same thing happen. He took off, set the rail, tried to get it in, and almost went over the handlebars, and then having to recover. But with Jack, he was able to recover, and then, you know, it's kind of a Jack of new this year. So last year, the body language almost would have given up. This year, recovering, language feeling strong, back into it, and then went into some sick turns. He got himself an 8.5. So I like the new Jack this year, definitely more motivated and definitely getting after it.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those locations, Pete, where a ride isn't necessarily over if you don't get that beautiful off the bottom major top turn combo happening at the start of the ride. You can save the wave on the end section.
Little leniency from the boys up there, right? I mean, because of the fact it's so raw that you're going to see little stumbles here and there, and you got to forgive them. But I love what he was talking about. We touched on it this morning. You know, the wind has been this direction. Hasn't been this direction. So the surfers, it's a different feel. It's going to have a different feel on the ocean. The wind, those little ball bearing chops that we see are coming from a different direction. So it's not going to have the same resistance.
Just under 21 minutes to go. Jack Freestone got an 8.5. I do think that the scales are a little high in this heat. I think Connor, he's capable of leaning into some pretty powerful moves. So I don't think he's out of this one just yet. He is chasing a total, Pete, but it's not probably the kind of two-wave total that's going to have him too alarmed just yet.
I would agree. And that it's right. There's a ceiling there of only 1.5 points, but you can start to place. You know, in those higher numbers, we'll see it gets a little bit. I mean, I don't know how you'd explain it, but that scale kind of almost extends in there in that 9-point range. You'll see, those 0.1 anchors, those tenths of the point, they'll be starting to get used at that top end of the scale.
Well, if you think back to Connor's round 4 heat, it's a little less daunting chasing a 14.34 heat score total instead of a 19.17, which is what he would have needed against John Florence. Just under 20 minutes remaining here. Let's check in with the winner of the last heat of round 4 in the women's event. It's Sally Fitzgibbons with Barton Lynch.
Sally Fitzgibbons, that was a calm, controlled, professional performance.
Yeah, I did feel really calm out there, Bill. It was a really nice lineup to kind of decode at the moment, and those the swells are coming in and sort of swirling around you, so it felt nice to get up in the excellent range, but I feel like I can build off that. And again,
you threw away an excellent ride, so throwing away 8s has always got to feel good.
Oh, it felt good because Taddy's been in great form. She's a great competitor, and we had a good battle out here last year where she got the jump on the rhythm, so it felt nice to flip-flop that and just have the confidence in my surfing, and it's just dialing in those little ribs and bumps, and the timing out Margaret River is always the key ingredient you're looking for, so I can't wait for the next one.
And the word in the street is that that's the first time in woman-on-woman competition that you beat Tatiana. Were you aware of that?
I wasn't aware of that, but I know I've had some great little battles with her in the past, and I think you start to know with only 18 women on tour, you start to get to know each other pretty well, so definitely feels nice to get the win, and really looking forward to the next battle.
And let's talk about your surfing. It seemed like you're really feeling your turns. You're right there with it?
Yeah, I feel like I've had a lot of growth in my surfing the last sort of and I can see there's a lot more that I could give. It's just about unlocking that, and I love my time in the jersey and just trying to I guess get on top of that pressure situation and bring out my best surfing.
Yeah, well, a quarter-final with Carissa Moore, you might need to do that.
Yeah, we've had some great matchups. We've been pretty even over the years on tour, so I know she always got strong foundations, but I feel like I've got what it takes to go all the way.
Good on you, Sal. Congratulations. Great win.
Oh, cheers. Hi to everyone back home. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Barton. Sally Fitzgibbons getting her first head-to-head victory over Tatiana Weston-Webb and setting up a really mouth-watering clash there with Carissa Moore. Those two have plenty of history. They fought for world titles against one another, and for me, that's the heat to watch in the quarters for the women.
I would agree. You know, Carissa and Sally, a lot of experience, and she had touched on the fact that you start to know your competitors, and so she'll probably know to beat Carissa. It's just a matter of going out there and applying it.
Definitely. Yeah, it definitely feels like Sal's really just letting go on some of those bigger turns this year. She always looks so controlled, but I love seeing her just put that extra punch into her moves. It's going to be a fantastic finish to the women's event. Some great matchups there.
Train like Sally. If I just trained like Sally half the time that she trains, I need to be fit as a fiddle. That woman puts in a lot of extra time in the pool. Running, you see her like before heats, before competition day, she'll be coming in while we're waking up after her doing a run. That's literally how she warms up. It is that crazy that she puts in so much extra effort. And, you know, let's hope that it can pay off for her. She's had a little bit of a struggle, but, you know, I think that just made her work that much harder.
What about Train Like Pete? What would that involve?
Well, that would be maybe a dessert here, wake up to a muffin. No.
I'm in. I'm already
I'm not that bad.
ahead of the curve. I'm on the program.
I substitute chips, which are French fries at home, for a salad. That's a nice one, right? Do the greens. Try to pull off one piece of bread and only eat maybe the other one. I didn't do that last night, of course, but hey, you got to enjoy life.
We do.
You don't want to take out all the treats.
We are. At the moment, we're enjoying watching Jack Freestone take on Connor Coffin here. Connor, he's got priority, but we saw that the heat didn't start the way he would have liked. He's looked very sure-footed in the earlier rounds, but he did stumble a little bit in his last heat, and it feels like that's maybe carried over to this morning's battle.
Well, if you think about Connor, he is a very mature youngster. So right now, that self-talk, he's going to be positively giving him, yep, it's coming. And once it does, I know what that last wave felt like. You know what? I'm going to learn from that. I'm not going to do that again. And apply a good score on the board and get in this heat. That's what that self-talk has got to be.
I think he's got that expectation of himself now to crack finals after getting second in Portugal. But at the same time, I think he'd be happy to be sitting at 9th on the ratings after the first event. Obviously, he would want more, but he's got something to build on there as we see Freestone up once again without priority, willing to take a chance on that wave. Not a lot of room to move, but he lets go of at least one reasonable turn. Connor behind him doesn't like the looks of this wall.
Well, I mean, I was liking his decision to pass up on that first wave. Obvious reasons, we've been touching on it all day. That second wave tends to be a little bit cleaner. Unfortunately, the angle of that second wave, not really conducive. So he sees that going down the line. He goes, you know what? This isn't going to get me what I need. I'm going to kick out, save priority once again, which he's done. He's going to be back out the takeoff zone and hopefully finds a quality wave to be able to get himself in this heat.
So Connor will want to make a move soon. We mentioned that it's not the scariest combination that he finds himself in or searching for. 14.34 has definitely been able to achieve heat score totals much higher than that already. 15.57 he had in the third round in his heat against Adrian Buchan. But you just don't want to be chasing those two big rides with not a lot of time on the clock. That's when the pressure starts to mount.
Sure. I mean, and we're getting to that point, right? We're past the halfway mark. It's getting less consistent. So all of a sudden you're like, okay, you're feeling that. You're like, dang, you know, and you're hearing the announcer, oh yeah, you got 13:30 to go. And you're like, okay, like that means that chances are I get maybe 2 sets. And then all of a sudden it becomes like, ooh, I got to take a wave that maybe is not a set to maybe produce a score. So you start to feel that time, and it creates pressure.
Well, and that is really going to work for Jack Freestone, that position of how he finds himself in. He'll be feeling pretty comfortable right now. I still don't even think he's pushed as hard as he can, and he's already hanging on to an excellent number. So he's looking good, Freestone out in front. Connor Coffin chasing a two-wave total of 14.34 in the first heat of round 5.
The World Junior Championship has long been a barometer for the next class of Championship Tour surfers. For the second year running, this prestigious event will be held in Kiama on the south coast of New South Wales, Australia. Just a 2-hour drive south of Sydney, this pristine coastline is the perfect backdrop for the world's best junior surfers to showcase their skills in a hope to become the next World Junior Champion. You can watch the whole event live on WorldSurfLeague.com and the WSL app.
Welcome back to the Drug Aware Margaret River Pro. Ethan Ewing, the current World Junior Champion, also competing at the Championship Tour level, knocked out of this event. Jack Freestone, a 2-time winner of the World Junior Champs, and he is in the water at the moment. I remember Jack's first World Junior title, claimed over in Bali. It was staged at Karamas. And in the semi-finals, he went to a whole new level. He started doing these variations of grabs that no one had ever seen before. And I believe he went really close to having a perfect heat. As we cut to live action now, Connor Coffin just having a frustrating heat out here at the moment. Body language is way off. And that's going to hurt his chances, Pete, because he surrendered priority there.
And he knows it. That's why he's so angry. But, hey, you never want to give up. So, again, like this, you can't let that anger creep in. Right now, he's sitting there, he's going, okay. It's easy to sit there and get angry and let it fester. Got to just wipe it clean. Get yourself, now just find yourself in position and make it happen.
Both these guys took part in those World Junior Champ events. And I remember the first year Jack won, I think he surfed against Zeke Lau in the final over there in Bali. So, just like they said in that piece, it really has become the barometer for future talent, who's to come through.
Oh, and even on the women's side, you can do the same thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's a couple. If you look back on some of the winners, there's really only maybe 1 or 2 names that really never ended up progressing onto the Championship Tour and becoming, someone to watch.
Well, Connor Coffin just struggling to find a happy place out here at the moment. But it looks like he's enjoying his time on the Championship Tour. Certainly has been having fun with the Rip Curl team since he joined the stable just recently. Also spending a lot of time working with Glenn Hall, which has obviously kind of brought him into that fold with Owen Wright and Matt Wilkinson. It seems that their success has really rubbed off nicely on him.
Oh, for sure. It's like very similar to, you know, Corey, I'm in NASCAR, right? Like they have these teams, and you get the best drivers hanging out, and there's the team that works inner. You know, you got Fletch in there, as well as Glenn Micro Hall, and they're all that vibe, that whole family atmosphere. It's awesome.
Connor, again, just without priority now, just looking to get himself back in this heat. But the best wave he's had is a 1, so really struggling out here at the moment. Having a look at this one, only needs to do one big turn and he'll get himself out of combination. Working this one over. If he can get a finish here, it'll really help his chances, but not committing to that inside section. As you can see, it went dry.
It's just the rhythm, right? That's we saw it where Malia and Joanne Fay, and Malia almost conceded that inside position to kind of start a rhythm, and that's how she felt, and it worked for her advantage. Whereas Jack, I'm going to get the first wave, and it worked to hit. So you just don't know what's going to work, but you got to find it. You watch this replay here. You know, body language is better. This is going to be his best way, but it's not going to rival. He needs to at least get, you know, the low score of Jack, so he doesn't need, you know, a 4.34 or higher. Pulls him out of that 2-wave combination, so he only needs 1 wave at that point. That wasn't enough.
Just a 2.93, so the situation remains the same for the Californian. Definitely got a little glimpse of that classic style Connor possesses. And he's had that, Pete, ever since he was a micro grommet. I remember seeing him come out to Oz, and he just had something different to his young rivals.
Never had that Grom kind of look, right? It was always mature. Every time you're just like, wow. Like, he surfs like a little man-child. You know, and you know, because there's that Grom kind of feel to him. You know, it's light on their feet. You know, they've got the air reverse. Their choice of turns are, you know, sometimes aren't the greatest, but he has always had just that great top to bottom, really mature style, but also kind of had that Grom flair that he'd throw out every once in a while.
Well, just on 6 minutes to go, and a challenging position Connor Coffin finds himself in here, and Barton Lynch, you've been picking up on the importance of a good start in these conditions.
Particularly in those last 2 heats, we saw Sally Fitzgibbons own the start and just maintain that through. You know, Tatiana had opportunities, but she fell. And if you don't capitalise on those opportunities when they present on an inconsistent day like today, you miss them. You may miss them for good. And I think that's what we've seen with Connor. You know, Jack got off to the early start, got the 8.5 that had a whole heap of opportunity, backed it up, and has been in that solid position ever since. And when you get that start, you put the pressure on your opponent, then the cracks and the weaknesses start to show. They start to illuminate themselves, as we've seen with Connor in this heat. So again, I think owning the start is imperative on a day like today, because one, you don't know if there's going to be that many opportunities or enough for both of you. So when you get them, you got to bank them.
5 minutes to go, Barton, and we saw pretty early on that there was some body language frustration shown by Connor. You do a bit of coaching yourself, working with young talent. Do you always tell your students that if there's time on the clock, you've still got an opportunity to turn it around? Don't let that frustration be shown.
Oh, 100%, and especially on best 2 rides. Out here, it's a very short paddle back out. You could get 2 rides in 3 minutes. So really, you're never out of it. And if you start, you know, selling yourself short, selling your position to the judges in a negative way with your body language, it just manifests itself. It starts snowballing, and all of a sudden you're behind the 8 ball. But here we go. There's a set on the outside. Both the guys are having a look, and Jack goes, "You're not getting this one. I've got it."
Driving off the bottom. And now there's that more relaxed approach, Jack. Just really enjoying the lead now. And he can get rid of a 5.83 and push this 2-wave total even higher, making life even more punishing for Connor Coffin. Didn't finish this ride off, but definitely gave it a little more on the first turn.
Well, you can see that difference, right? There was a little disconnect from the top of his body and the bottom of the body in those earlier waves. There, it kind of blended together. And so it was looser. It wasn't any of that stiffness. The swivel at the hips was working. You know, nice size set wave here. Utilize that priority. Gets the layback snap, but then, you know, you see how he adjusts with the wind. He put some weight on the tail, sets him up for positioning on those next few turns. You know, just the fall right here, but pretty much damage had been done. I think he's going to improve on that 5.83, and now it almost seems like you know, that combination has gotten to a point where Connor really can't pull it off just in these next 3 minutes.
He was surfing really well yesterday in the 4th round. I thought Jack Freestone, good turn options. He was coming off the bottom with a lot of speed into that bowl, letting go of those layback snaps. He just came up against a very sharp-looking Owen Wright in that 4th round. That's all that stopped him. But, Pete, why aren't we going to see someone as proficient above the lip as Jack go to the air today?
Well, it's just the winds. It's blowing everything the direction you want it to blow to your feet, and that's that south wind, which blows at the left or at the right. I mean, you know, this time right now it's blowing from you know, across the headland right there, coming across. So anytime you'd ever try to get your board up above the lip, it's so strong too. There's really very difficult. I'm not going to say impossible because these guys amaze me all the time. But this is just I mean, it's the worst possible scenario for trying to do airs right now because of that.
So much like a plane.
Unless he goes
left.
left.
Take off into the wind.
Yep, no, that's exactly it. You see that all the time, right? That, you know, you can almost, at times, you'll see those planes, they anticipate the winds, you know. Not that it has anything to do with right now, but I'm just mentioning it. But yes, you're right. You got to go into the wind, and that's going to create the lift. It's going to help slow the plane down or speed the plane up or lift the plane up.
And we've seen in more recent times, surfers have adapted and evolved their aerial approach. In an offshore wind, we'll see guys really flick their boards towards the beach because they can get the board to stick to their feet, so almost projecting forwards rather than above the wave. But today it's coming from right to left across your screen, and anytime you get above that lip, there's a good chance your board's going to end up heading down towards Denmark, towards the southern end of WA.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And you know, it's very challenging. So we probably won't see, I mean, we won't see any aerials. If we have Felipe coming up, I mean, the only way I would really see any of that type of stuff happening is if we see someone take a left. It's the only way we'd really see anybody be able to put the board into the wind.
So just over a minute to go now, and so far today, it's been about big rail turns. That's what's been fetching numbers on the women's side of the draw. Here in this first heat of the men's, Jack Freestone establishing a very quick lead. His first 2 rides, it was in the opening minutes of this heat. His last wave didn't go into his top 2, so Connor Coffin, with 40 seconds to go, is still chasing a 14.34, and even though he might log the biggest score of the ride, it won't matter. He's not going to have time to get back out there. Here he is, just looking to salvage some pride with a good ride through to the inside here. Drives up into this section. Nice layback jam. And this wave's going to shut down. He places his board over the closeout there. A frustrating heat.
So much so. And it really comes down to that first wave when, you know, it got away from him. You know, that had some scoring opportunity. And then after that, he really didn't get anything until then.
Well, he's just trying not to get pinned between that deep water and that incoming surge. But Connor Coffin eliminated from the event. Another 9th place finish. That should still keep him in a pretty reasonable position on the Jeep leaderboard. Jack Freestone continues to impress, just pacing his way through the draw here at the Drug-Aware Margaret River Pro. Another big heat coming up for you in just a moment. Michelle Perez is set to take on Julian Wilson. That's just around the corner. Stay with us. west bottom turn. And a beautiful carve. Here we go. John Florence now finding some barrel time.
Oh, my.
John Florence, another very dominant run here at the Drug-Aware Margaret River Pro. This is the man to beat.
What are you doing?
Welcome back to the Drug-Aware Margaret River Pro. We are now into round 5. Heat 2 about to hit the lineup, but we've been really enjoying, Pete, your analysis throughout this event. And this is coming from a man that competed here at Margaret River and a man that's been dropping some pretty sweet edits lately. Check this out, the Executioner.
But you guys
do yourself a favour and check this out. Pete Mel, he can do it in the big stuff, former Big Wave Tour champ, but also...
I didn't know this was coming, guys. Sorry.
No, I
teed self-promotion.
I teed this
I apologize a lot.
But look at the size of this ride. But Pete, what I loved about that edit was those big layback jams. I think those kind of moves will score well today. It's a good way to keep your board in the water, low-risk moves, but a lot of power unleashed.
And anytime you put spray up into the air, the judges love it. So it's a bit of a cheater snap for me. It's one to go to. It's conservative, but hey, you know what? I'm not going to change it.
I don't think there'll be any cheater snaps out here in this heat. Have a look at it. It's two of the heavy hitters in this event. Michelle Perez, a former winner here, and Julian Wilson, who has cracked the final at Margaret River in the past. He was in that exchange with Sebastian Zietz here last season, and he's had some big heats here this year as well. And he's off to a quick start here. This is live action. Quick little two-turn combo, I should say. And it should be a mid-range score.
Well, we've seen the theme. Those quick starts have been working. So let's see if this is going to work out for Julian.
I think the big numbers are going to be a little bit harder to come by for Julian Wilson and Michelle Perez based on the surfing that they've done earlier in this contest.
Meaning what? You want to see a little bit more out of them? It's kind of it seems like a little call out there.
No, I just think in the previous heat, Jack Freestone's 8.5 kind of set the scale pretty high in that heat.
Okay.
He kind of cruised his way to that number, and I just think there'll be an expectation for some really, world champ type surfing from Julian Wilson. And Michelle Perez, obviously high expectations from him here as a former winner of the contest.
Yesterday we got to see both these surfers. They ended up not winning their round 4 heats, but I feel like their surfing was right there up in caliber. Michelle specifically was very powerful in some of the moves he did. So this is a good matchup between these two. I think there's going to be more of a tactical battle between them. Who's going to find themselves on that quality waves from, looking at that last heat. I mean, it was very one-sided. So this could be the scenario for this heat as well. Whoever can find those quality waves and not make any mistakes.
Well, here goes Julian Wilson once again. Had a 6.5 on his first wave. This one's not going to go into the top 2 by the end of this heat. Michelle Perez now out the back, having a look at this one. Likes what he sees. He's going to have to dig in big time on this first section. He does. A nice carve and plenty of speed carry into this arcing turn. Climbing the roof now, a clean float, so a solid combination of turns. And had he ridden out of that last move, certainly would have pushed that score a lot higher. Great variation.
Absolutely. And, one of the things I really liked about Michelle's carves that he did there was one motion. It wasn't as if he went into the turn and then dug in. It was just this beautiful, big, round, clean arc. No real stuffs of the rails. And 2 in a row, and then straight into the floater, which carried him into that next section. I just would have loved to have seen him really finish that one. We would have seen excellent wave scores come in, by comparison what we saw in the first heat. But that arc all the way around, good, nice, and same speed. Same thing here, really laying over. You see that body all the way leaned into the water. But just unfortunate for him right there not to complete that last move. It will affect his score, but it's still going to be pretty good. I think it's a good start for Michelle.
A 7.17. So Michelle Perez betters Julian Wilson's opening ride. This is already shaping up to be a pretty good heat.
It is for sure. And hopefully the consistency is there so we can kind of see this back and forth thing happening. There's the 5 judges 7.5s from 2 of them, 7.0s. Knock out the high and the low, and there's your average. You know, Michel representing French Polynesia, but spent a lot of his junior career kind of honing his skills in France.
Definitely, and you know, I think that move actually helped him become a really solid surfer in tricky conditions, and we saw him get a victory here. We saw him go back-to-back a couple of seasons ago and get a win in Brazil as well. He had himself fixed at the top end of the ratings. In 2014, he ended up having a 5th place finish. Dipped in 2015, ended up in 21st position, but had a big return to the top 10 last year with a big finish, and we finally saw him win one of those locations on the schedule where you kind of expect him to do really well, winning the Pipe Masters.
Well, you go to Tahiti and you think that he's going to be doing well. Chopo spends a lot of time there training, but he has yet to really prove that he can compete there. And it's one of those things, I think, that being at home, like, there's a different type of atmosphere that you're competing in. Some of those surfers will really relish it and do really excellent results, but for Michel, it's been tough for him to get past round 3 in Tahiti.
Well, a really strong opening ride, and now trying to back it up. Love that bottom turn. Doing well not to catch a nose rail coming out of that move. But just the one turn, so it won't be a monster number. Wilson out the back with set waves approaching. He's got priority.
Well, you see the tide filling in now. We had that low tide early. It's going to build the tide. We've been fortunate with this wind still kind of coming out of that easterly direction. Like I said, it's supposed to come and clock around to the north and then actually come from the west, which is straight on shore.
Julian swinging late here, under the lip, but able to hang on here. A bit of foam on the face. He's looking for that wall that's been cleaned up by the first wave in the set.
It shows how important, too, the positioning on the takeoff in these types of conditions as well, because, that wave literally landed on his back, and it took a lot of that momentum out of his first bottom turn, and a lot of the reason why he kicked out of that wave. It may have had some opportunity down the line, but he didn't have enough speed to really give us a good, solid first turn. So I was like, I'm out of here. I'm going to keep position, try and put myself in a better spot next time. And you see, he's thinking, I'm in the right spot, but look at that. It literally barrels off the top of him, and I don't think he expected that completely. You'd think that the wind's going to hold it up enough, but at that point, he did well just to make it. But, there's no transition to really push off of.
Even with just that takeoff, Pete, he's been more barreled in WA than you and I this year.
So true. So true. But so he sees that there's no opportunity to do a first turn. He's looking down the line, sees probably Michel paddling out. Better choice. I'm going to go back out and get myself in position, hold priority.
A 0.8 for Julian Wilson on that wave, and when you slow down those moments, you're picking up on technically brilliant rides or moments, I should say, that don't even fetch you any points. That was just such a tricky thing. He barely paddled for that wave and was still able to survive that drop.
Unique, isn't it? And there's a lot of times we've seen that. Just for example, the 5.33 of John the other day was one of the best turns we saw the whole event, and only scored a 5.
Well, gets plenty of speed on this drop and adds some big points with that first maneuver. Silky through the transition carve, and now looking for the finish. It's going dry on the inside, but he does well to place his board up and over the top of that falling lip, getting the fins free for a moment. And that should be a pretty decent number.
I like how both these surfers are really trying to mix it up. It looks like they're consciously trying to do that as well. Giving us some connection with the lip, throwing up the fins, whether it be the floater or that kind of transition floater, which was kind of cool. But also that little finish there where he gets compressed in the lip, pushes the fins up, little roundhouse kick. Good choice here of waves, being that it's pushing down the line. So he's going to get that extra drive. Beautiful, smooth arcs. You're right. He kind of pushes through all that chop, but no worries for him. And then this one climbs it, gets that little punch of the fins. There's a good angle to really show how much bumps on the face, and it's literally the bumps are not coming at you anymore. They're going away from you. And it is a whole different feel when you are having that wave moving the different direction. You see the ribs in the face. Generally, they're moving at you. This time, away from you. And you see he gets over it and finds the smooth water. That's where he gets the turn in. You see, he's got a similar style in the sense of compressing and extending like John was doing. Julian has that same ability because he's so low to his board that it gives him a big range to be able to move up and down, and the twisting motion that he gets in there as well.
I also think Julian and John have something in common in that they both have good modern styles, and that they open up their stance, but they mask it really well by dropping that back knee, something Taj Burrow was always able to do throughout his career. And Julian's up once again, his last wave. The scores are still coming through. Well, let's see how he takes this thing apart. Has a lot of speed through the inside now.
Nice.
And having to negotiate some sections that weren't really cooperating and doing it really well.
Oh, I mean, he kept the speed, flowed right through it. You know, straight top to bottom. The judges love when you can keep that flow through difficult sections and maneuvers and link them together, as Julian was able to do right there. Last year's runner-up, Julian, very close to winning that event. You know, it came down to one carve of Sebastian Zietz. Take a look at the replay here. Again, not an easy wave to surf, ton of wind blowing. So you see how he just absorbs it all, connecting that section and that section. That climb of the whitewater there, so difficult to do, to keep it looking smooth, so easy to get bucked off.
So Julian getting ahead of Michel Perez with his last ride of 5.67. And waiting on the scores to come through for this last wave. So just over 16 minutes to go.
You know, at this moment, you see that Julian's probably going in his head, okay, that, you know, where would that score line be for me? Because I think the wind's going to be a little bit challenging to hear the commentary as well.
Well, while we wait for the scores to come through, let's get caught up with the winner of that first heat into the quarterfinals, Jack Freestone. He's with Barton Lynch.
Jack Freestone, that was a good heat, mate. Great start, and that set up the win.
Yeah, basically, it didn't break after that. Myself and Connor, we were sitting kind of a little bit wide and just trying to pick anything, but there's nothing really happened.
But that first one, that 8.5, stayed open and gave you plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, well, that's what I was noticing. They were breaking. The better ones were coming from a little bit deeper. And that one I was just in the perfect spot, perfect time, and it linked up perfect and got 3 nice turns. And yeah, mate, that was basically it. Though. After that, I tried to sneak in another wave just to have 2 waves under the belt, and basically went flat, and all the other sets were breaking too wide.
And towards the back end, you had priority and chose that good one at the end, preventing Connor from getting any chance really of getting back into it.
Yeah, well, that was it. It's kind of always my game plan if I'm winning to try and have priority with the last 5 minutes, just to kind of control the heat, and yeah, just trying to limit Connor's chances of getting back in the heat, basically. And
we see a lot of people travelling with coaches and family. You've got your good mate Cruzy with you, keep getting the vibe right?
Yeah, basically, it's just always creating kind of like a fun environment to be around. And I've got Darren here and my good friend Dylan Roberts as well. And yeah, we've just been having the best time, and it's just having fun.
Great to see you reaching your potential at this CT level, mate. Keep it up.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, Barton. Jack Freestone will go up against Owen Wright in quarterfinal number 1. Should be a fantastic battle there. Jack's been putting up good numbers. He pushed Owen Wright in their round 4 heat. So I'm sure he'll fire up even more against the current number 1.
I noticed there, just in regards to the statement that Barton had said, like, good to see you reaching your potential, right? And I think that even Jack, you know, he was genuinely like, hey, thank you, you know, because I think he's realizing it too now. And then also the fact that he's trying to figure out, traveling the tour, what is going to keep him in the best frame of mind, spiritually and competitively. It's surrounding himself with good friends, and I think by having that kind of atmosphere has been helpful, and it's dialing in what's going to keep you in the best state of your best surfing. I mean, I've watched Jack and Mitch, they're palling out anywhere and any time to surf, and they're pushing each other in conditions you would usually just look at and go, yeah, let's go watch some footy or something, and they're out there.
For sure. Julian Wilson, his last ride, a 6.63. Michelle Perez chasing a 5.96. Some good surfing happening, but Strider Wasilewski is out there paying attention to the chess match that's unfolding at the takeoff zone.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Michelle having priority sitting out the back, seeing a set coming, and Julian Wilson was flying out on the jet ski, going super fast, identifying a good-looking wave, jumped off the ski at full speed, never stopped looking at that wave. Michelle had passed it up already in his mind, looking out the back at the set, and Julian just going, wow, this is a good wave, and just kept paddling straight for it, straight into it, caught that thing. Judges gave him his backup score. He's looking good now. He's got two good solid scores, and leaving Michelle out the back with priority, but maybe in this case the curse of priority.
Well, that's right. Not chasing a huge number though, Michelle Perez, a 5.96. Julian, those waves that he's had, Pete, he's been able to generate pretty big numbers out of them, but they have been smaller.
It's true, and again, we've seen it time and time again, not just this event, that if you're going to receive bigger scores, you got to be on the set waves.
Thrilled to get a glimpse of your clip here on the broadcast, the executioner. How'd you come up with the title for that clip?
Well, if you do actually watch the clip, it actually came from Nathan Fletcher. So he was laughing because obviously I was a commissioner of the Big Wave Tour, but I was still, chasing big waves. Go back to that.
Here goes Julian Wilson, trying to push his heat score total up. A little more committed on that first turn, getting some aggression out. Wants to break into the excellent range, and he's going to smash the oncoming section there. And behind him, Michelle Perez also unloading.
Now that's what we call a meat hook. That was a trademark Michelle Perez. See what he did on the outside. But love the finish from him. I also loved Julian Wilson. Seemed to be giving a bit more aggression to this wave. Nice size set wave for Michelle, so that's what he was trying to wait for that priority. And again, he gets the outside turn. And that one too, nice two-turn combo. We've seen those go into excellent. I feel like this one will too. Smaller wave for Julian, so he knows he has to really dig in, which he does. That was a nice arc, and a lot of the difference for his arc that he does there was the point where he was vertical into the turn, so it makes it more difficult when you get that board vertical and then do the arc, going straight up into it. But Nathan Fletcher was laughing as that wave that you saw on your screen, he was laughing. He's like, that's not the commissioner, that's the executioner.
I like it. I still prefer the Condor. We've got the Spot out in the lineup at the moment. Trying to get the lead off Julian Wilson. We're waiting for the numbers to drop from that last exchange.
So my friend decided just to do it, call it that. Kyle Boothman, very talented cinematographer from our area. Works with Nat Young and has been putting edits together since he was a grommet. He's a good surfer himself.
Loved it. Michelle Perez, a former winner here. Julian just missing the event win last season in such an epic tight battle with Sebastian Zietz. And pretty pumping waves here, Pete, we saw last year.
Agreed. That's why we come. Margaret River main break. The swell right now, if you were to go in your other regions in this zone, it's going to be fairly small. There's some areas that'll pick up the swell, but here, swallows it in, magnifies it. Very consistent wave. It handles the winds pretty well.
That was wave number 6 for Julian Wilson, so he's been a little busier. Michelle Perez We're waiting on the numbers to come through for him. We know Michelle got an 8.27 and jumped into the lead. Julian needs an 8.81 from his ride to get it back. 8.5 minutes to go. We're getting excited about this next heat. Sebastian Zietz will be up against Felipe Toledo. Welcome back to the Drug Aware Margaret River Pro. We're seeing scenes of Julian Wilson's performance in this contest last year. Just making a huge statement with some of the most beautiful lines and deep tracks, Pete. It was fun to watch.
He was one of the boys to beat, that is for sure. That's why he's into the final. Just Sebastian Zietz had that one big maneuver in the final that really kind of separated the two. But Julian likes this wave. That's why, you know, I have him picked as a world champion, being that he can produce big scores at every single venue that we have on this tour. Charges at Fiji, Chopo, no problem. He's pipe master, can win in Brazil, can win at Bells. Hasn't won a Bell yet, but I think that his surfing can definitely match up to a lot of the guys.
Definitely. But have a look at his position at the moment. He finds himself behind here with just over 6 minutes to go. He does always put up good numbers, even when he loses out early. On the Gold Coast, he served very well in the first round, but went home with a 13th. And he's in danger of falling out of the mix here with a 9th. If he doesn't track down a 7.88, Michel Perez, an 8.27 on his last ride. Julian did post his best number a couple of rides ago.
We had touched on, you know, what the difference would be in this, and it was about wave selection. And, you know, that one moment where Michelle held on to that priority, that 8.27 really is the best wave we've seen.
Julian's had a lot of throwaway rides as well, so 7 waves, 7.57 and a 6.63, which he's got to get rid of. Michelle, only 3 rides. He's had 66% of that priority. And again, that opening exchange is proving to be the difference at the moment.
So true, you know, and now he's back in that pole position, sitting there with priority once again, trying to control the back half of the heat. So it's really been, you know, the management of time and management of priority that has been really a significant difference that I've seen.
Well, certainly the surfers that have enjoyed success here in the past are proving just how good a relationship they have with this location. As we see Julian going after that 7.88 now. And that section, he just got there a little late. He's going to have to head back out there with just over 4.5 minutes to go. But you think about it, Michel Perez, Adriano de Souza, Sebastian Zietz, John Florence, all former winners here. Julian Wilson, a former finalist. You got to love this place, it seems, in order to get the big results. Those surfers that kind of neg out, get all eggy about surfing main break, they fell out of the mix pretty early.
Eggy. Can't be eggy. So true. I mean, John is you know, we had been able to take a look at this first. You know, so he's going to have to try and manufacture a big score on a wave that has less potential. You know, he gave it all he could. Maybe thinking, you know, will there be some magic section that I could kind of show some innovation or progression? That would have been a point of difference, but that did not happen there. So he's going to have to go back out there and try and get one of those set waves. I think if there was a 2 or 3 wave set, that'll really set himself up well. But talking about John, and you know, I mentioned to Ross, I said, hey, you know, he had a really good run out there yesterday, and what he had mentioned was that, you know, all you really need to do with John in those types of waves and those types of conditions is let him go, because he is so amped already. It's almost like you need to kind of go, hey, let's just remember that you're surfing a competition and that you need to win the heat. So don't get too freaked out and frothed out on the waves. Go out there and have a good time, but also make sure you win the heat.
And John Florence will take on the winner of this exchange. 3 minutes remaining, time running out for Julian Wilson. Michelle Perez is holding on to that priority. As we dive into the recap here, Michelle getting the better of Julian on the opening exchange, 7.17, and really the majority of points coming out of that beautiful carve midway through this ride.
He's got that snap, roundhouse cutback to floater combo on lock. It's got a really neat pace to it. When you see it come together like that, it's hard to not give it 8s. You know, that one came in at a 7.17 because of the fall. And then Julian, you know, he's been definitely on the short end of the stick in regards to waves, and he's kept it pretty close. So you got to commend him for that. You know, this was definitely the best wave of the heat. 2 big snaps on a sizable set wave will earn you excellent wave scores. That's what he did. He's got the lead.
Just swinging the axe on that last section. Michelle Perez, or the block splitter maybe.
Oh, one big whack and the thing just poof into 3 pieces. Throw it in the fire, get warmed up.
Julian.
Throw a marshmallow on there, some s'mores.
Julian Wilson. Julian Wilson. He just needs to get himself a bigger wave. He looks like he's surfing really well. As you mentioned, even on smaller waves, he's kept on pace, almost on pace with Michelle Perez, just missing some size in that wall. He's got a bit of time though, 1.5 minutes. He needs really needs a 2-wave set to come his way, so he can get Michelle Perez out of the way and have a strike.
One thing about Michelle, though, he's so smart too, right?
He is.
It would be hard for him not to, you know, give that priority away.
Yeah, he's going to make the right decision, isn't he? So things looking good for the Tahitian at this stage of the game. And we could have a battle between 2 former winners in quarterfinal number 2. With just under a minute to go now, time ticking by. Can Wilson hold his nerve? Will he get a crack at a set wave? Doesn't look like it.
No, looking out the back, and this is usually when you look at this ocean here, it's pretty clear when it's coming, you know, and that breeze just lights up and shows it, highlights those sets coming.
Yeah, it's not one of those locations, is it, where just waves pop up out of that deep water. Well, Michelle gives Julian a pat on the back. And that's going to be a disappointing result for Julian. Some surfers on the championship tour would take a 9th any day of the week, but not a man who's cracked the final here at this location before. Michelle Perez, though, a solid performance. Only 3 waves, and he managed a couple of big numbers.
That was a scary situation. You know, there was concession going down, right? And if Michelle wasn't paying attention right there, we could have seen almost an interference.
For sure, we've seen that before. Surfers
with Michelle
concede, shake hands, and then go on and catch a wave and have a shot at the score. But it was a frustrating heat for Julian Wilson. Just couldn't connect with one of those bigger sets. But props to the man on screen, Michelle Perez. Waited for the big ones, let go of those huge turns, and he is on his way to quarterfinal number 2. When we return, Sebastian Zietz will take on Felipe Toledo, and we'll bring in Joe Topel and Martin Potter for the call.
Thanks for watching the Drug Aware Margaret River Pro. We're into round 5, heat number 3. Sebastian Zietz taking on Felipe Toledo. Great to see everyone watching the action in the second stop of the World Surf League Championship Tour. Joe Tupel alongside one of my good friends, top talented surfer still to this day, Mark Potter, as we've been showing the action all day long. We've got some classic spots already in the quarterfinals. World number 1 still backing up his result from Snapper Owen. We'll have Jack Freestone, have Michelle Perez getting past Julian in the last heat. He'll be taking on John Florence. And now we're setting up the bottom half of the draw. Seabass taking on Toledo. These guys both qualified the same season. Still rivals from that rookie year on tour, Potts.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of, in a way, similar approaches. I mean, both guys are very spontaneous. They're like freestyling through their heats. So it's going to be a very exciting heat. Hopefully that wind doesn't get too strong. But Toledo, while we're at the break, off to a flying start. He's got a past champion in here, defending champion, Sebastian Zietz, so he knows he's got to crank it up. And Toledo, traditionally not one of his pet events, but he's surfing really well.
So solid to see him get through some heats. It's such a good point where you look at Sebastian Zietz, where you want to call it his pet event. Last year's champ went all the way to take top honors. Being commentators, Potts, we travel around the world together, long car rides, plane flights, and we play a game. Okay, who would win? And you make up a scenario, you pick a venue, name the surfers, name the time on the clock. We even go as far as telling what the wind is doing and all that stuff. Toledo and Seabass, if you would put it at Rio, put it at Small Snapper, anything like that, you're going, okay, Toledo, it might be his day. Main break Margaret River, when they're both heating up, Seabass is first the headliner because of what he can do with that big power hook. What about the conditions today? Who has the edge in this matchup?
Well, it's not really an air wind, is it? But these guys are that good, it doesn't matter anymore. They've got so many variations of doing those aerial maneuvers. You know, you would say Sebastian Zietz would have a little bit of an edge. Why? Because he's gone all the way here before. But this is a new year. You know, strange things happen. I'm seeing a little bit of a different Toledo this year. He's bigger and stronger, smarter. I mean, you can put the fins in the board wrong and he can still get good scores. But, you know, obviously, yes, you would sort of bet on Sebastian Zietz taking this one out, but it's a new year, like I said.
Only one previous matchup with these two. They've been on tour together for a few years. They've just been missing each other in one-on-one heats. Their matchup a couple of years back at Bells. Felipe won that one. So Seabass ready to settle the score. We saw Felipe in the locker room well before the heat started. Strider Wazalewski's in the water. Did you see Seabass anywhere, Waz?
I did. I saw Seabass out here finding some waves. He was actually over at Southside, you know, getting his warm-up on all by himself, too. Just getting his waves in. He's just, you know, he loves to surf. He's just a Grom at heart and always in the water. So he was over there just catching waves by himself this morning, catching those little rights off the corner, really just getting a good little warm-up. So he's definitely ready to go. So it was really uncharacteristic for him to be falling off on that first wave.
Always loves to have a warm-up and stay very active as Sebastian Zietz. So it's good that Strider picked him out further down the line. Seabass is one competitor on tour, Potts, that used to say if there was a big contest, it'd say snapper or main break. Got half the tour out there warming up. Sometimes he's like, you know what, I'm going to hide a little bit. There's other waves to surf. He kind of preferred doing his own thing. And then he was already warmed up. He didn't need to adapt to the actual contest area. And he finds some good results. Let's see what happened on this first fall here.
Well, I mean, that's obviously that bump on the face of the wave due to the wind is going to cause that to happen. You know, it's you've really got to focus on every little bit. You've got to pay so much attention to each individual turn. It seems to me like if you get carried away, if you're looking too far down the line, it's easy to take your eye off that bottom turn and things can go wrong. So especially on a day like today, Margaret River main break is demanding your undivided attention.
Past champs seem to be reliable when it comes to taking on Margaret River as we watch Felipe Toledo trying to set up something through this wind. Open face hook, now a searing carve down to the pocket. Big vertical off the top, but he loses the handle, ditching the fins. That second turn was insane.
That's what I mean, Joe. It's a different kind of Felipe Toledo this year. You know, I think all the criticism that he's been copping over the years, it's kind of all built up and he's using it as fuel for the fire. You know, he's too good not to work it out. And everyone forgets how he's still quite young, you know, still filling out, still growing as a young man. Missed that first turn. And this is why he unleashed the beast on this one right here. I mean, look at that. Talk about rail surfing. That's as good as we've seen so far this morning. If he can manage to fit a couple of turns in on a wave, he's going to be really hard to beat. You can see just jamming into it, setting that rail and carving through, getting that body rotation. Everything just absolutely perfect in place. And then just try to go for a little bit too much on the last turn. So Toledo, for me, that's what's improved with him over the last 6 months or so. And I think we're going to see him starting to charge a little bit more, maybe lay down some bigger tracks. And all those critics, he's going to silence them for sure.
Definitely the critics came from waves of consequence, Fiji, Tahiti, waiting for a big result on paper to come at those venues. And addressing Toledo about that, he said he hears it, but he really just focuses on the feedback from people that are important to him, really close in his circle. And so he's found a way at a young age to just pave his own way. He's always had honors and people celebrating what he can do above the lip. One of the best surfers in the world when it comes to strike rate in major air section maneuvers.
I mean, Joe, when you look at it, there's very few guys just show up and blow up when it's big and gnarly. It takes guys a couple of years to work that kind of stuff out.
Now watching Toledo through the wind, bumpy open face, fits in an arc off the top of that wave, harder off the bottom, springing into a big finishing move. Next wave, a big takeoff from Seabass. Gets that wrap out of the way. Here comes the best part of the wave to really coil up off a big layback hammer before the end section. Seems like that setup turn to big finish has been the recipe in the last 2 heats now, Potts.
Yeah. Well, you know, you can't oversurf this wave. It doesn't allow that. It doesn't allow you to just connect where you want to. You've got to really fit in the gaps. You know, the wave dictates the pace of play, and you know, if you go along with that, it's going to look good. If as soon as you try to force the issue or try and produce a maneuver where the wave won't allow it, it's going to look funky. So stick to what the wave lets you do.
Sebastian Zietz wearing the red jersey. As we take another look at this last combination.
Yeah, it draws nice and low off the bottom. Just a real sort of setup turn right there. Waiting for it to stand up. Now it does, and that's when you unleash it. There's that trademark turn from Sebastian Zietz, just gouging into the face of the wave. Gets nice and low. Back foot pressure. Now extends that back leg. Beautiful style from Sebastian Zietz. That's the kind of surfing that took him all the way here last year. And definitely so far his best wave.
Also on the exchange, Felipe Toledo.
A little bumpy on the face. Toledo, same sort of setup. Very similar waves. And whose finishing turn was better? Because the first part of the wave was very similar. That first turn was just a nice setup maneuver. And then Toledo, I think he gets a little bit more drift. That was the one before that was just amazing carve. So that was wave number 1 for Toledo, which ended up being a 6. Wave number 2, a 5.0. So you're looking around about the same for Seabass, maybe up into that 6-point range.
Love that layback hammer from Seabass. Just looks so rewarding. As a surfer, when you want to feel good doing a finish, that layback hack has been looking so solid here at Main Break. We've seen Jeremy kind of do his dagger version of it off the top, and also extending more on the finish when Jeremy had that crazy blowtail into the 9.6. You can see how they're thinking through that points of the wave being nice and full out the back. You can still get speed, but set up to hammer. 2-turn combo battle continues from 2 guys that qualified at the same season.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what the wave's offering, that's what you've got to kind of do. You know, there's not really the opportunity to go to the air because of the wind conditions. It's blowing from behind you, so it's going to try and take that board away from your feet. So it's that setup maneuver to just lay down the rail through that inside bowl, and it's kind of been working.
Can you imagine if the wind was favorable for those airs in a heat like this? Be interesting to see how Seabass would respond, knowing that Toledo would be gifted with rampy conditions. Now it's all about carve for carve. Both going for broke on the finishing move. Scores coming in from the previous exchange. Let's see how this one's going to work out. Toledo already has a 6, backed it up with a 5. Seabass fell in his first, so his best score about to lock in. Priority with Toledo on this wave. Here comes that setup arc. Once again, similar start. Staying really full through the second effort, but clean rail line for the roundhouse. Forced to just fade one more time, not given a huge section to work with till the tail end, and an awkward float section he makes look easy. That float had about 4 lips in it. The rocks were starting to pop up, and look, Toledo's still right.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if you want those kind of waves, Joe. That was the first wave of the set. It was kind of slopey, very bumpy from the wind, as opposed to the previous waves where it kind of let him set that rail and really hook into his turns. So I think he's going to go back out and say, you know what, that's first wave of the set, let it go. It's really hard to connect and make your turns nice and clean. Let's have a look. See bumpy, lumpy, right there, caught a little bit of an edge, and again right there. So it's sort of basically set up turns, and again another sort of little bit of a stumble. Super difficult to ride this wave. So a couple of series of cutbacks, and then now on the inside, a tricky maneuver to finish off. So the wave before, 6.17. Sebastian Zietz also with a good solid second ride, Joe.
So now the scores in for that last exchange. 6-1-7 for Toledo's previous wave. 6-3-3 for Sebastian Zietz. We saw that back and forth battle. Who had the better finish? Slightly going in favor of Seabass for that layback hack. I like the way that one went. That layback was so fun to watch. Puts everything into it. With now 15:30 to go. More waves out the back. The defending champ of the event setting this one up. Staying full again out the back. They'll just fight through the breeze. Chunky section, late hit, can't hang on.
See how difficult those first waves are to ride. And then you look at the one behind it. Look how clean that face is. So I think you need to maybe, even though that first one might look good, you've got to just say to yourself, you know what, it's going to have too much bump on it. It's not really going to let me be confident with my turns.
Next wave going to Toledo. Solid carve. Another big layback hack right on the money.
See how clean that wave was?
Beautiful.
That was the third wave of the set. First one bumpy, second one cleaned it up even more. Third one was a wave to hammer on, and Toledo did exactly that.
I like that read, Potts. That's why I never even look at a wave until you tell me this is the one. It's such a smart game plan. You saw how easy it was for Toledo to set that rail. He had such a good canvas to work with. This has been the battle of the two-turn combos, and Toledo just probably turned in his best version so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Just clean face, you know. I mean, it's especially when you look at the equipment these guys are riding. So they've all gone back down to their little hot rod boards. So you're looking at smaller, more high performance. Looks like Seabass is going to do an equipment change. You want something that's responsive. You want something that can fit in that really tight transition on the inside. So those big lumpy waves are going to affect that board a lot more.
We've got the caddies on the inside, the kids here for WA. Passes the backup board to really one of the biggest kids on tour. Sebastian Zietz brought his niece and nephew to Snapper to shadow him, just training for a big event. Had some huge hooks. Made a couple heats, got a good start on the season, showing how solid he was looking in transition. He had a crazy survival heat the other day, broke his board pulling into the barrel. Went in with about less than 7 minutes on the clock. Board change, came back, lost priority. It was pretty dramatic, and was able to come back to survive for this matchup with Toledo today. More waves on the way out the back. Felipe just got an 8.5, and he's up again. Layback carve, coming around the corner. Big swing off the top again for Toledo. He's kind of got a bowly inside corner. He'll just play with that lip. Rock and roll float to finish. Keeping it real lively on that inside corner. So he was looking at better, a 6-1-7, trying to take advantage of the board switch that Zietz was handling on the inside.
He's starting to feel it. His confidence is up. He's starting to work out what the kind of waves, really. He's identifying the good ones. And that is so important to do. Let's have a look at this wave from Toledo. Double pump off the bottom. That's more dynamic on the first turn, which is really important out here. Because it's a short wave, you can't afford to miss those first turns. And then brings it through the inside, capitalizes with a bit of a sliding foam climb, lip line float. And this was the wave before, Joe. This was the 8.5. Look how clean it is compared to the first couple of waves in that set, and that hammer right there to finish off. The judges ate that one up. Look at the score.
Into the excellent range for Felipe, taking advantage of that clear water you were talking about. A few ways deep in the set, and 2 solid hacks out the back. He was able to get that following score that he's trying to fit into his top 2. Could be similar to his 6s previously, with now 11:30 to go on the clock. Seabass already back in position, changing up the equipment, needing at least an 8.35 as we compare the power of these 2.
Yeah, watch the upper body. This is the difference. You look at the boards, very similar, but Seabass puts that right hand back into the water where Toledo rotates around the upper body. So very similar bottom part. Like if you take away the upper body, very, very similar, but then the upper body is where the difference is, where Sebastian Zietz lays that backhand into the water, whereas Toledo rotates around the upper body. So both beautiful, both dynamic, both very functional, both with a lot of style. And at the moment, Toledo with an 8.5, which is the difference.
Martin Lynch on hand. BLG, notice anything about the board change from Sebastian Zietz?
Yes, mate. He was riding a 6-1 at that time and decided it felt a little too small, so he came in and switched to the board that he actually won last year on. So he's gone back to the magic one, gone back looking for a bit of that good energy from one that has already delivered.
Martin, it was interesting seeing Seabass make the board change the other day when he broke it in the barrel. He seems pretty comfortable making those changes even though they're pretty far out the back. I guess it is nice to have the jet ski assist these days.
Oh, really, really nice. And an interesting story that Mike Parsons told me from the very first final in 1985 was Ockie, Simon Law, Mike Parsons and the great Mark Richards. And at that stage, Mark Richards was in the back end of his career, but he snapped a board out the back, swam all the way into the beach, into the keyhole, got his spare board, paddled all the way back out and still nearly won the final. So I bet he would have loved a bit of a jet ski assist back then. But yeah, the jet skis have been a revolution. They've enabled performance to go to another level. They've taken big wave surfing into an arena that none of us ever even imagined. And now they're actually giving these, the world's best competitors the opportunity to ride more waves. So God bless them.
Well, BL, we've been watching this last couple of days. There's been almost a lot of surfers questioning their equipment in the middle of a heat. We've seen guys go for bigger boards. We see them go to smaller boards. Why is it so hard to pick the right surfboard to ride here at the main break?
I think a lot of it has to do with time spent on the wave and in the wave and in that variance of conditions that we've had. You think about it, a lot of people will be going to the other waves and surfing their free surfs elsewhere. Maybe the morning of your heat you might have a surf, but then by the time your heat comes around, the winds change direction, the swells come up, all sorts of things change. And so I think there's a lack of familiarity with this wave. And I think the best example of that is Kelly Slater. When you consider it's the only event on the World Tour he hasn't won. He obviously had trouble here this year and his boards have never looked dialed right in, and it's because he doesn't spend much time surfing this wave. So yeah, it's all about familiarity, and as you guys alluded to earlier in the broadcast, the relationship you have with a place is what creates your energy and creates your opportunities. And so I know that that's something that, say, Kelly has spent a lot of time with developing at Pipeline, say, but not so much here at Margaret River.
Good man. Martin Lynch, former world champ, breaking down the equipment that these guys are riding. Right now we're watching Felipe Toledo control a big first turn. Right in the pocket, straight up again for another hack off the top. Sets that rail, beautiful roundhouse cutback, but gets pushed off on the rebound. 2 big hooks, falling on the carve.
Starting to light it up, isn't he, Joe? Starting to feel it, find the groove. 6.37 on his last roll of the dice extends his lead a little bit over Sebastian Zietz, who is looking for an 8.54. That's a wave up into the excellent range. I think he was on his way to improving his situation yet again had he not fallen off at the end of that wave.
It's interesting watching these guys in motion when they're starting a wave off so perfectly and when there's a fall. Oftentimes you look at the coaches and they just cringe and almost fall off with them. You're the exact same way, Potts. Anytime someone falls on an you feel pain in your chest. You fall over in your chair, you get back up. You even see that when a wave is missed. It's almost like you're feeling that moment in time for how important that wave was.
Yeah, well, I've lived it, so I know how important it is to maybe stamp your authority on that wave, and that wave could change everything, not just the heat wind, but it could change your career. It could be the difference between going on to win this event and not. So, and then world title implications. So, you break down a year in review, and all of a sudden it goes back to maybe one missed opportunity, and that could have been it.
That could have been the whole story. Well, last heat was won by Michelle Perez. Michelle's now with Bart Lynch.
Michelle Perez, that was a bit of a nail biter.
Yeah, I had the priority for the last maybe 7 minutes, but I was leading, so I was just expecting the first set to come and to be the guy on it. Yeah.
And so Julian kind of got off to a better start, had the lead for a while, but it took that 8.27 to get you into the lead.
Yeah, I was talking to my team manager Brandon before and about the boat selection, because yesterday I was riding a 6.2 and it felt good under my feet, and today the wind is super strong, so I used the same board as yesterday, so it just felt great. That's why I was waiting for the sets. Yeah. And
Julian, always a tough drawer and must be a close friend.
Oh, Julian is like a brother to me. We always have good time together, and he's one of those guys that you don't want to surf against, because he's so good in the water and good outside of the water as well. So it's a tough one. Yeah.
Quarterfinals, stoked with that?
Oh yeah, I'm really happy, especially after losing the second round on the Goldie, but coming here, it's a special place for me, and I just want to do well. It's a place that I like, because there's always powerful waves everywhere, like Surfer Point, Box, or North Point. It's places where I want to win. Yeah.
Well, Michelle Perez matching Margaret Rivers' power with his own power. Look at those thighs, man. You're a strong man. Good win. Congratulations.
Thank you.
A lot of powerful maneuvers for Michelle Perez in that last heat. And always great catching up with the Spartan, one of the nicest guys on tour, one of the most powerful when he lays that board on a rail, taking out one of the favorites to win. Last year's runner-up in this contest was Julian, so that was a huge matchup. Michelle takes on John Florence in the quarters. Felipe Toledo, though, just like you thought, Potts, is heating up. This was his last wave during the interview.
Yeah, he's starting to feel it. He's starting to get those good ones. And there's 3 or 4 turns on this one. This wave just kept offering that scoring opportunity. And, he doesn't need too much of an invitation to light it up, does he? So 6.93 is his second highest score that he's going to try and replace. 7 waves under his belt already. And another very similar score just about to lock in.
Toledo just loves catching waves, just like Seabass. This time, though, Felipe's the one going wave after wave. He has a few 6s now that he's thrown away. 6.57, 6.37, 6.17, and a 6.0. Those are all throwaway scores for Felipe, including 2 more 5s. So that's all his rhythm that he's just taking over at main break. High score an 8.5. Seabass in this situation, needing a big score, 9.10. You're quickly reminded of the 10-point ride that he treated us with at North Point. Said one of the longest barrels he's had in his career in the Jersey, especially on a very historical day. There's a lot of energy coming up with that one, so we might just rewind the tape with Peter Mel. Hang on to your seatbelt. This was a beautiful call.
1995. Those are big years for Bart Lynch.
They sure are. Great to have him on the commentary team. As we see Sebastian Zeitz locked in so deep.
Oh, he's still there. He's still there.
Going.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
Oh, my gosh.
Pete Mel's got 10.
Sorry. I am sorry, folks at home.
And 2 thumbs up. Sebastian's got 8 fingers and 3 thumbs up.
Look at it.
Unbelievable.
Oh, my God.
It's in already.
Oh, no. Well, come on.
No deliberation.
My goodness. There's a lot of froth going on in the booth for good reason. Ronnie Blakey and Pete Mel on the call, and Pete just had that natural surfer in him coming out. And he kind of matched the froth level. We always talk about the froth level, means excitement level of a surfer like Seabass, because he was having the same reaction in the water putts.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably one of the best feelings in the world. And then to do it with the jersey on, 10-point rides are hard to come by. That was the only one that day. And it was the last heat of the day and the last wave of the day. What a way to do it.
When you're watching the world's best, you fall with them, you surf with them. For Pete, he had the 10 with Seabass. Go through all the highs and lows of competition with the top 34. You get to know each other quite well. Seabass is aware of Toledo's game plan here. He's going to start off with a carve, needs a 9-1-0 to turn this one around. Steady bottom turn, full arc. Wants a big finish. Straight up vertical off the top for Sebastian Zietz. Answering out the back is Toledo with 1:40 to go. And Toledo kicks out and hopes to regain priority with 90 seconds.
Yeah, well, kind of a good comeback wave for Sebastian Zietz. Is it going to be in time, though, Joe? Needing a 9.10. Have a look at Toledo's scores. I mean, 6, a 5, a 6.17, a 5.33, an 8.5, a 6.3, a 6.9, a 6.5. I mean, he's just been on an absolute roll. That one that he just took off on before is probably going to be his lowest score, but the real knee knocker is Sebastian Zietz's wave. Is that going to be enough? A 9.10 that's required. Good surfing from Seabass. Nice, clean on the face. Needs to light it up through this inside bowl. Beautiful turn. How strong is the finish? Bangs it up through the lip. Joe, I'm not seeing a 9-1, but is he going to have time to get back out and maybe have another roll of the dice? Let's have a look. Takes off behind the section, first turn. Very important. It's more of a sort of a transition turn. Getting back in the power source. Now he starts to unleash. That's probably the best turn of the wave right there. And then finishes off vertical. So I'm seeing a good score, but I'm not seeing a 9.10.
Solid effort for Seabass. I'm with you, Potts. One of his better waves of the matchup. He had a 6.33 before, so he'll improve on that, but probably he's going to need one more chance to try to turn this one around. Numbers now locking in for Seabass, an 8-point ride. Now needs a 7.44, but he's going to run out of time. Sebastian Zietz providing some massive turns up until round 5. Ends up going down to Felipe Toledo. Toledo with an 8.5 and a 6.93 knocks out the defending champ of the drug-aware Margaret River Pro. And Toledo will move on to the quarterfinals to take on Adriano de Souza.
Yeah, well, crazy stuff. And, all those people that doubted Felipe Toledo's ability out here at Margaret River, well, he's into the quarters.
Doing a great job throwing down some big power hooks as round 5 continues. Jeremy Flores takes on Jordy Smith coming up next. 5, heat number 4 has a classic matchup. Two surfers that have been on tour for a long time and have taken big wins, and they've got big reputations when it comes to big power moves at the main break. Jeremy Flores and Jordy Smith on the draw. This was a matchup we've been waiting to see at main break for a couple of years now. This was supposed to be a round 3 heat. Jordy Smith hurt himself, had to withdraw, and Jeremy got the bye to continue on in the later rounds. So now we get two surfers nice and ready to compete, looking for a spot in the quarterfinals. Joe Turpel, former world champ Martin Potter. As we look at this draw, Jeremy versus Jordy. What's been Jeremy's secret weapon getting this far in the contest?
Well, I think it's just the waves. I mean, obviously Jeremy's, he gets super excited when there's waves, and there's been a lot of waves. I mean, North Point, there was talk at the box, but main break was cranking. And when it's big and gnarly, that's when Jeremy really comes into his own. So if the waves are pumping, Jeremy gets excited. Speaking of excited, that last wave we got yesterday afternoon in the 9.6 range, that was 9.60. Was insane, and I had to talk to him this morning, and he said, look, had I not fallen on one of my other waves, I would have made it through and been straight into the quarters. So realizing his mistakes, knows exactly what he's got to do. This is going to be a tough heat for him up against Jordy, who kind of relishes in these kind of conditions too.
So true. These two have been on tour together for a long time. When you look at previous matchups, we always like breaking down the one-on-one heats, because those are the ones where you're just battling with that one opponent, and to see if there's some sort of history there, because there's the 3-man heat in round 1, the non-elimination in round 4. These guys tend to have a lot of those 3-man heats together. Their first ever clash was a semi-final, going way back to 2010 in Peniche, a wave called Super Tubos, which is on the calendar once again as we head to Portugal. Jordy won that one a long time ago, as he's finaled at that event in the past. Since then, it's been a lot of 3-man heats. Couple out here at main break Margaret River. Now finally getting to see the battle in carving conditions with a set coming out the back pots. Still plenty of size. Jordy Smith wants this wave. Sets up that big arcing first turn. A lot of flow in his style and approach. Driving off the lip on that second hook. Quick change to go straight up on the float. Responding to that end section. Smith is well aware where the bricks are, and those rocks on the inside, he's going, I'm fading to get out of the way of that thing this morning.
I think yesterday afternoon's going to be in the back of his mind, so I think we're going to see a very clinical approach to that end section from Jordy Smith. I don't think he's going to be risking too much. Got his leash wrapped around the reef yesterday afternoon, and it sucked him back under the water, so some nervous moments there for Jordy, but he would have put all that behind him. And just that approach on that wave is why Jordy's going to be hard to beat here. Just a big, strong guy, and with the bump and lump on the face of the wave, it's not going to affect him as much as, say, Jeremy. Being able just to hook into these turns and then finish off nicely. So Jordy knows exactly what he's got to do against Jeremy. Apply the pressure straight away and finish on your feet. Very important to do.
Jordy Smith from Durban, South Africa. Growing up in a great surfing family, father's shaping surfboards. He had a great sparring crew to grow up with. A lot of talented surfers out of South Africa. We had Travis Logie on tour for a long time. Now he's commissioner of the QS qualifying series, always making big calls for 10,000s, looking for new venues. When they were both on tour together, they'd be best of friends, backing each other up for the big heats. They had some classic matchups together as well. There's some surfers from South Africa that you always expected to go further. Remember when Ricky Basnek qualified? He sort of felt like an answer to Dane Reynolds as well for what he was doing high performance-wise.
Yeah, I mean, South Africa is full of unbelievable surfers. Just unfortunate the economy is probably the main reason why we don't see more of them on tour.
Se tivesse quebrado, ele teve que vir, não voltou pela prioridade. 3 anos debaixo da prioridade dele, 3 anos que somou. Aquela onda que tu deu uma panca por baixo e depois caiu no putback ali, eu dei uma assim, aí deu uma rasgada lá em cima, muito bom. Aí depois fui, bati no putback caindo e bicou a prancha. Aí eu encostei na espuma assim, ela fez aquela onda ia sair da capa do 8 alto 9, cara, porque a primeira.
We always love to translate the breakdown from Ricardo to his son Felipe after a big win. Felipe off to the quarterfinals. Jeremy fighting for a spot in the final series through a couple of big moves. Handling the chop well, flowing down the line, and he'll attack the finish. Not an easy wave to ride, and he cleaned that one up. Big hook now from Jordy Smith on the next wave, and a big layback hack under the lip. Rooftop float again for the South African. And he's out of there. Just like you said, Potts, wave after, much cleaner than what Jeremy had to deal with.
Yep. And it sort of baffles me that these guys haven't worked that out yet. You know, they're obviously in the heat of the moment, and they might see something that we can't from here that might be attractive to them, but every big score we've seen has been on the second wave of the set where you're just able to hook into it a lot better. Jeremy surfed that wave incredibly well, but Jordy just looked way more impressive with his turns.
Jordy already has the 6.67. So for Jeremy, that's his best wave so far in this matchup. As this one's building, winner of this heat moves on to quarter number 4 to take on Kolohe Dino. Quarter still on standby. There's a lot of work in the commissioner's office now because they're loving these conditions. Quarters are set for the women as well. So we have been flying through a beautiful week in the West. Haven't had a single lay day. Saw massive conditions yesterday morning at main break, trimming in size today, but still overhead on the set. Still plenty of size when we look at this replay.
Yeah, let's have a look at the first wave of the set. So Jeremy using his priority. You can see how bumpy it is. Driving off the bottom. I love this turn from Jeremy. Showed a lot of commitment. And then to finish off nicely. So that was a tricky wave to ride from Jeremy Flores. And then behind him, look at Jordy's wave. A little bigger, a little cleaner. And he just absolutely ate this one up. Big wrapping turn. Watch this turn here from Jordy. Hook right into it. Thanks for coming. And then straight up into the float maneuver. I'm seeing that go maybe 9 plus. I mean, that was some serious turns from Jordy Smith right here. Look how far back the foot is on the board as he just hooks into it. And it was kind of safe as well. I mean, Jordy could have really unleashed the beast on that one, but kind of knew he was on his way to a good score and just wanted to finish it. You see that fin popping out, that board well and truly over on the rail, straight into the next turn. So Jeremy is going to get a fairly good score, his best score so far, but wait to see Jordy's score drop. I think it's going to be huge.
Love the way he frames up the layback hack. Flores, he talked about it, using that maneuver to get past world champs like Joel Parkinson earlier in the contest. Both have a really great version of that move, which has been working well at main break. The size of the transition of the wave, the way the lip sets up. Jordy throwing that one right into the guts of the wave. Flores, 6.33 on the last, that messy one where he cleaned up. Tougher to surf. Jordy with some clean water on the next exchange. Will be in the lead in just a moment with 19:30 to go.
Yeah, Jordy needs a minuscule score. Judges are probably having a good look at that. It's all about that second wave, Joe. Sometimes even the third one, depending on how many set waves are coming through.
And Jordy in the rhythm. We talk about a challenging heat for Jordy Smith. In the non-elimination format, if you're going to have one of those heats, that's the best heat to do it in. He'll get that extra chance in round 5. Smith was just happy to get out of the water. Said he landed on that rock shelf, bruised his hip. He said he'd be fine, though. He wasn't really going into it too far. He just wanted to shake it off, prepare for a brand new day. So far, game plan looking solid. 6.67, just showing that he had a brand new rhythm coming into this morning's action.
Yeah, just a lot more controlled. I'm liking it. The other thing with this event too, if you can have shockers in 2 rounds, the first round and round 4 where there's non-elimination, so you can make a couple of mistakes as long as they are in those rounds. You can still go on to win this thing. So scores dropping for Jordy, and as I thought, Joe.
9 points for Jordy Smith on his second decision. waiting for that wave to come. Jeremy Flores used priority in the first, and Jordy just looked at the next wave. It was cleaner, had more opportunity. Now Flores needs a 9.34 to take the lead as we check out the numbers.
Yeah, that's going to sting, you know, because Jeremy had priority. He was controlling the lineup, and wave selection let him down. Jeremy is well and truly capable of dropping big scores, as we saw yesterday, 9.6. So now his job now is to try and make sure Jordy goes the first wave and he gets the second wave. Try and flip the coin on him.
So Flores trying to figure out the game plan now. He said he's been feeling really relaxed. He's having a blast in the West. So Jeremy already thinking about how to get the 9.34 and the lead to get a spot in the quarters. Speaking of the quarters, Felipe will have De Souza in quarter 3. Toledo's hanging out with Barton Lynch.
Felipe Toledo, that was a great performance, mate. Fantastic surfing. Probably the most consistent performance we've seen all day.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was really fun out there, you know. The waves dropped definitely from yesterday, but it's still like plenty of really good waves, good opportunities over there. We had a quick chat about running the box over here. You know, that was my gut feeling. I was like, no, stay over here and, you know, surf some rippable waves. So yeah, that was really fun. I knew Sebas would be like a really tough surfer to beat in these conditions, especially because of last year too. You know, he was in a good rhythm with the waves over here, surfing really good. So, but yeah, I stick with my game and worked pretty good. Thank God.
Worked really good. A lot of consistent scores. A couple of 5s in there, but heaps of 6s, and then that 1.85. What's the lesson in there? Obviously the judges love something in that 8.5 that they didn't see in the 6s. How do you get those 6s up to 7s and 8s, mate?
Oh yeah, you know, I think my 8.5 was a bigger wave and 2 really strong maneuvers. You know, so I had one big open carve and then a nice jam on the inside. So I think on the 6s I was just doing cutbacks on the first 2 turns, you know, and then finishing pretty good. But I think they wanted to see the first turn really big and, you know, throwing a lot of spray. So I think that's one thing that I'll be looking for, you know, just to do that big first turn and put some more 8s on the table.
You got plenty of big turns, mate, and you got the fins in the right way today.
yeah, fins. It's a different fins now, so but it's in the right way, so it's working.
Congratulations, mate. Great performance.
Thank you.
Felipe Toledo, you can tell he's enjoying the energy at main break Margaret River. BL and Felipe having a laugh because yesterday the pit crew rushed down with the backup board, threw the fins in real fast. They're in such a rush, they put the fins in the wrong place, and he still got his highest score on that last exchange. So same board, different fins, put them all in the right way, and he got into the 8s and also took out the defending champ of the event.
That's going to be it was always going to be a tough heat, and you know, Felipe needed to produce excellent surfing to take that one out. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. He's got his hands full with De Souza coming up next in quarterfinal number 3. This is Jordy's wave, big swooping turn right here, just manhandling this wave through the inside, up and over the top. So 3 solid turns for Jordy Smith. An 8.8, a 9, an 8.5, a 9.2, and a 9.3. And you know what, Joe? That was he kind of pulled back a little bit on that turn as well. He didn't quite give it everything, did he? Making sure that he nailed that. He knew he was on his way to a good score, and brought that one through the inside. 9 points, so looking pretty solid.
Frames it up well. Just like Felipe, Jordy is never one to repeat turns. Often changes it up with the rhythm of the wave. Doesn't have a weakness when it comes to maneuvers. He's got everything to his name, especially in the air as well. There was a rodeo flip Jordy completed a long time ago now in the Mento Eyes. Still looked at one of the better airs ever completed. He was also in bending moves. He'd sort of do backside Supermans. Called them froggies, I believe.
We haven't seen the Superman for a while from Jordy, have we?
He sort of brought it back a little bit on the Gold Coast. He did it towards the tail end of a wave, but yeah, it was something that he brought on tour back when he was a rookie. He's changed up his airs over the years.
When you can get 9s from just turning, I mean, it's a lower risk move, and still get rewarded for it. Why risk it and fall off, damage your board, hurt yourself?
I I enjoy the balance that Jordy brings to the table.
Yeah.
He's not one that just shies away from it, but he brings a good mix of power, good mix of airs in competition. I think he provides that really well from all points of the criteria. There's certain guys that save their airs and sometimes maybe not even feature them in a whole season. Sticking to what works as far as the scale's concerned, Jordy's got a good balance of surfing for numbers and bringing that real exciting free surf element to the game.
Yeah, and that's what you've got to have. You've got to have a healthy balance. You've got to have every aspect of your game well and truly firing on all cylinders to take an event win out for sure.
Jordy Smith leads over Jeremy Flores with 12:45 to go for the last spot into the quarterfinals. We'll be back at West Oz after this. Welcome back to Margaret River, and it's an exciting day as we're setting up the quarterfinal matchups. We already have some great heats to look forward to with Owen Wright and a matchup with Jack Freestone. John Florence will take on Michelle Perez. Adriano de Souza will take on the last heat winner, Felipe Toledo. And now we're working out the last spot in quarterfinal number 4. Watching this now, Jordy Smith up on another wave. Clean fade in the pocket, another layback hack. Messier section this time, and he's going to throw the finish away. So winner this heat takes on Kolohe in quarter 4, as we have a theme there, Potts. We had so many previous champs still left in the draw this morning. We did lose Seabass, but you have John, Michelle in the mix. Won this event before. Adriano de Souza as well. The guys that understand this wave are reliable each and every year.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to like it. You've got to like this wave to do well at it.
Jeremy enjoying the last few heats. Fades a big cutback. Quick whip off the coping. He's got a lot of speed now down the line. Not given much to work with at the tail end, but he stays on his feet. The tough section has been throughout this whole week. The accomplishment there was just not getting thrown off your board.
Yeah, and look where he ends up. They should cover that with some sponge or something, right? Some foam, you know.
Some environmentally friendly,
something that you know, these guys can just land on it. We'll see some crazy finishes to the wave.
It's like that was a great idea. What if it's like a big trampoline on the inside?
Yeah, imagine that. But yeah, difficult wave right there for Jeremy Flores, but looking for a 9.34. Jordy Smith, I thought, was on his way to another massive score. Let's have a look at Jeremy's. Beautiful bottom turn, nice top turn to keep things off. Fading back down. Jams. Oh, that was nice there. Got a little bit of drift. Didn't quite connect with that last maneuver, but managed to ride out. So it's going to be a good score for Jeremy. On the merit of those first 2 turns, I really like that. Jordy Smith, let's have a look at him. Had priority, so opted for the first wave of the set. He doesn't care about the lump and bump. Beautiful turn, and then went for a little bit too much. Got a little bit too much sort of out the back of the wave. Lost his balance and went down. So that won't go into his top 2, or will it?
Looking at the last number for Jordy Smith, a 7.83.
Well, it will.
So a 2-turn combo at the back, enough. Not getting the finish.
That would have been massive had he finished that off.
Almost reminds you of his 9-point ride where he did get the bonus inside corner to float. So Smith just understanding the system.
Okay, so Jordy Smith a 7.83 for 2 nice turns and then falling off. Where's Jeremy's going to fit in? with 2 nice turns with a completion.
Interesting. The end section didn't have a whole lot for him to do with a big hack.
It's better
but he
than a
did
fall-off
float
though.
it.
Yeah.
He did have that extra finish. 8:15 remaining. The judge is calling for the replay.
Yeah, so nice turn from Geordie, and right there just hooking into it a bit more than normal and not quite finishing off that one. 7.83, that's huge. One judge went as high as 8.5 on that wave for Geordie Smith. Jeremy Flores, nice opening turn. As he draws off the bottom, snaps it off the top, and then didn't quite connect, but did finish off on his feet. So his wave comes in underneath Geordie's at a 7.33. I think Geordie was surfing a lot bigger than Jeremy. I think carrying a lot more speed through his turns. Maybe looking a little bit more radical. Very similar to how Michelle Perez won a couple of years ago by producing a couple of big turns and then falling off. The judges didn't mind that.
So solid effort for Geordie Smith. The 2 big blows out the back making the difference in this heat. Jeremy turns in his best numbers so far, breaks the combination, but still needs a massive score, a 9.5 to turn this one around. He did have a 9.6 yesterday in the non-elimination heat. Snuck into second at the end. He was waiting for one big score in bigger conditions. So still plenty of action to come in round 5, heat number 4 for a spot into the quarterfinals. Time for an update on the rest of the day with the Commissioner's Office. Jesse Miley-Dyers with Bart Lynch.
Deputy Commissioner Jesse Miley-Dyer, what's the update? What are we doing?
Yeah, we're going to go into the women's quarters and put men's quarters on hold where, it's kind of shaping up to be pretty nice out there, and the wind that we were watching and, watching come through and kind of flatten that lineup out is kind of backed off. So hopefully we could get some done.
They're getting stuff done. There's plenty of action. Now tell me, I heard there might be an injury situation with Malia Manuel.
Yeah, so I do have a walkthrough now in Heat 2. Malia's not going to surf. She's injured her MCL, we think, in that last heat, which is a real bummer for her because she was surfing really well and she's pretty upset. So Tyler Wright's not going to surf in that heat, and now I've only got 3 quarters.
Well, when things are going your way, they're really going your way. So Tyler Wright getting the walk through. Malia Manuel, who's one of our form surfers from the morning, unfortunately pulling out with that knee injury.
Thank you, Bart Lynch, for the update with Commissioner Jesse Miley-Dyer. What a bummer to hear the news about Malia Manuel not able to surf in the quarters. They're looking at exactly what has happened to her knee. They're thinking it could be the MCL. We'll keep you posted on the official word. But the tough part is she can't continue on her roll. She's had 9s and 8s. She had the super heat with Tyler before. We thought that was going to be a big rematch. We hope that she'll be ready to compete at Bells.
All right, so what do? Do you sacrifice an event, or do you sacrifice potentially the whole year if you then do some serious damage to it? So you've got to look at the big picture in those kind of situations and, do the right thing. Be smart about it. She's got a long career ahead of her and she doesn't want to do permanent damage.
So you start thinking about those scenarios, Potts. If this was in the end of the season, if she had a lot on the line, she might be thinking of ways to tape it up and surf through it. Speaking of those knee injuries, Laura Enever had to withdraw from the injury that she had at the Piahi Challenge last year. So still trying to recover from that one. She tried to surf through at Honolulu Bay, and she could have had that example happen where she was surfing too early on it. She was obviously in that sense of urgency because she had to show up to really hope that she was going to re-qualify.
Joe, you need pretty much everything to be firing, your body-wise as far as a surfer goes, but knees especially so. You do serious damage to your knees. It takes a long time to really come back at 100%.
Sounds like a heat recap. Geordie Smith, Jeremy Flores going blow for blow. Great draw on paper, especially with huge numbers behind them. This was an important heat for Geordie just to get the rhythm back after an awkward round 4 matchup. He went right into step with a wave. 6s to 9s and 7s, and he's been holding the lead ever since.
Yeah, he's looking tough to beat, picking the right waves. Look at the face of the waves that he's got, nice and clean, no bumps on them, and I think that's been the difference. It's allowed him to unleash. Jeremy, though, not to be outdone, is surfing incredibly well. A 7.33 and a 6.33. Beautiful surfing from Jeremy. Came off a sort of a strange heat yesterday where it started slow, finished strong. So he's carrying that momentum but he's running out of time. 3 minutes and 30 to go, needs a 9.5. So he needs something similar to what he finished the day with yesterday.
Exactly. The 9.6 that he turned in was an insane connection of a layback hammer and a solid wave, a lot of energy, a lot of fire behind Flores on that 9.6. Easily one of my favorite waves of the contest so far. It's showing Jeremy's connection with this wave. Both these guys were superstars before they qualified. Qualified without a problem on the qualifying series. They had so many weapons to use.
I remember in ISO World Juniors a fair few years ago now, Jeremy, Geordie and Julian in the finals, and I forget the fourth guy, but these guys have been surfing against each other for a very long time.
Oh yeah, they're aware of their game plans. They knew what they were capable of. So many stories when you look back at their career. Jeremy's had a lifelong relationship with Quicksilver. Geordie Smith had the era where they were going through bidding wars because he was one of the biggest names in surfing before he even qualified. He was supposed to be the next big thing. He's had 2 years where he's finished runner-up in the world, including last season.
Think he's got a world title in him?
Definitely.
Maybe this year?
It's on. I think he's just had all those years with real injuries. Just
I love putting you on the spot, John.
It's fun.
Huh?
I love it.
You always put me on the spot, so it's back at you.
It's my favorite part of the day. Potts' picks, predictions, breaking down the guys that are in form, which boards are looking good, which waves to pick. It never ends, really.
No. So many stories, isn't there?
So fun. Well, Jeremy Flores got the 7.33 Strider. Did you like it?
I did. I like the way he was attacking the wave. He got 3 turns off on his wave, and Geordie got a higher score for just 2 turns and then falling off on the end. And from my angle, it's hard to see what the difference was there, why he got such a higher score. As Jeremy looks like he's going to try and find something now. Answer back, little wave on his own off the bottom, just kind of flipping out there literally on the end of that wave. But I don't know, maybe Potts could break it down for me a little bit because I don't have the land angle of what the difference is. The Sammy, the cameraman here, was kind of saying maybe they're off the bottom. He's waiting a little longer, and it looks like Geordie's kind of attacking a little bit faster.
Yeah, I think the difference really is Geordie's surfing a lot bigger Strider. He's picking those nice clean-faced waves. So he's allowed to, he's just allowed to come off the bottom a lot harder and really unleash those big turns. Jeremy's surfing well. He's a little tighter in the pocket, whereas Geordie's just really doing those big carving maneuvers. I think that's the difference.
The difference in the replays from Strider's angle. The turns look big out the back. Then that finish. Strider, for your point of view, Jeremy got the floater on the inside. Even though Geordie fell, his hooks were bigger out the back.
Well, yeah, they're both surfing so critical. They're just having so much fun. I can see Geordie, though, really pivoting in the lip and having a lot of, momentum right off the bat as, Jeremy getting the down the line finish on the inside. So that's the part of the wave I'm having a hard time seeing. And I was wondering what the difference was, but it's good to hear the difference.
Scott, I think the main difference really was that one wave that Jeremy had priority, took off on, got a 6.3 out the back for that 9-point ride. I think since then it's just been sort of trying to come back, really.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for Jeremy, time's running out here.
That's right, there's the horn. Always good to get the insight from Strider in the water. He wanted to get more insight on the finish from land. And Geordie Smith able to get a spot into the quarterfinals to take on Kolohe Dino as this one continues. Flores looks solid, had a couple 7s to his name, but ends up getting knocked out here in round 5 with now the final 8 set for both divisions. We'll take on the women's lineup coming up next and bring in Ronnie Blakey and Peter Mel for the call.